Texans versus Lions this week, Sunday night football, and it feels very familiar and perhaps helpless. DeMeco Ryans asked him about the confidence in the offensive line and the staff. He had some interesting things to say, as did a member of the Texans offensive line. We got a hell of a lot to get into. Let's go to the post-week edition of the Locker Room.
Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the Locker Room. Texas Talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do.
It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can see me here throughout the week. SNL in the morning. We got a lot to get into. We got a big week. This video sponsored by BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150 and get back 150% bonus up to $2,000, 125% after that. We heard from DeMeco Ryans today. He spoke on the offensive line. We got a really, really big week, and I appreciate you for rolling through and joining me here in the Locker Room. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans. There's been something really interesting about the Texans offensive line, and just a couple of takeaways in a second. But first, I asked DeMeco Ryans about his confidence in the offensive staff as compared to the defensive staff. This is what DeMeco had to say earlier today.
During your time as overseeing the defense, it seems like whether there's injuries, whether it's putting guys in the right place, they seem to step up and you put them in the best place to succeed. Do you have the confidence on offense that when it comes to these protection things, the staff can do the same thing?
Yeah, for all of us, it's as coaches, right? It's all of our job to put our guys in position, right, to be successful, right? Obviously. And it's our players' job to go out and execute and play to the best of their ability. And when their opportunity comes, are you making those one-on-one plays? Because that's what the game ultimately always comes down to, no matter how you slice it up. Right? In the league, like, are your players making the plays they need to win games? That's what it always comes down to.
All right. Now, it depends how you take that. We'll hear from more from DeMeco Ryans in a second. But I took that a number of ways. And the way in which DeMeco Ryans speaks, a lot of times it's going to come across as a nothing burger. Sometimes it is a big nothing burger where he's not saying much. He's just throwing out cliches. And he's not telling you anything. Not because he might not have anything to say, but maybe he just doesn't want to tell you. And a lot of times he kind of tries to stay even keeled. When I heard that, though, I looked at that as these players just aren't making plays. This offensive line isn't making plays. And I don't think any of us disagree with that. I think if you watch this Texans offensive line, a lot of times they just physically get their ass kicked. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times, sometimes it can be communication. Sometimes it can be other stuff. But a lot of times they just physically get their ass whooped. And maybe you adjust if you're Bobby Slowick and change the way in which you call with the acceptance that this offensive line is going to get their ass kicked. But when I heard DeMeco Ryans say that, I looked at it as, yeah, for the most part, I think that our coaches are giving the players opportunities to win their one-on-one matchup. Now, here's the problem I have with that. And I don't disagree with DeMeco when it says that. And some people are saying political no answer. I disagree. Here's my, in typical coaches speak and all that. Here's my thing that I think is the problem with the offensive staff versus the defensive staff. And this is what a lot of people were reluctant to embrace when it came to hiring DeMeco Ryans, regardless of how big of a star he is here and how much of an icon he is. They were reluctant to sign to bring in DeMeco Ryans because they felt that DeMeco Ryans was going to perhaps neglect the offensive side of the rock and not be able to function. And that's why when DeMeco Ryans says what he says, and he says, you know, a lot of times the coach's job is to put players in position to make plays and win their one-on-one battles, and that's really all you can do. I don't believe him because let's just put it this way. If there were a cornerback that was getting his ass kicked and that cornerback, it was very clear that cornerback can't hold his own, do you not think that DeMeco Ryans, as one of the best defensive minds in the game and a guy who is constantly, whether the linebackers are banged up, whether you're shorthanded at corner, whether you have a lot of talent on the defensive line or you don't, do you think DeMeco Ryans is just going to sit that guy out there and let him continue to get his ass whooped for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, however you want to look at the season? The answer is fuck no. Like, honestly, like the answer is hell no. He's not going to do that. So Bobby Slowick, regardless of whether you think these players stink or not, and that's what I heard from DeMeco Ryans, is that these guys stink and we're trying to do what we can do. It might be time for Bobby Slowick to adjust. And I think that I'll put it this way. If you're going into a fight, and for the most part in the trenches, these guys are fighting. These are grown-ass heavyweights fighting. They are completely battling. If you're going into a fight, and let's say that you're facing Brock Lesnar in a steel cage, or you're facing Mike Tyson in his prime in boxing, are you going to go in there and just try to tackle him? Are you just going to go in there and try to physically out-muscle Brock Lesnar? Because that's what the Texans' offensive line makes opponents look like. I mean, if we're being honest, like every single defensive line that the Texans face looks like Brock Lesnar or Mike Tyson in their prime. That's how bad these guys get their ass whooped. So on one hand, you can say that. You can just sit there and say, well, coach has got to put him in position. You also got to adjust. You got to deal with what you have. Christian Harris has been out for the Texans. And we'll get a slight update on Nico Collins and Christian Harris. There was a question about Nico Collins and some confusion as to a couple of things that happened today. And I'm going to set that record straight a little later on in the show. So I got you covered on that. But when Christian Harris was out, DeMeco Ryans didn't just say, okay, well, I'm gonna play 3 traditional linebackers. Nah, he's playing Jalen Petrie at nickelback. And Jalen Petrie couldn't play deep safety, so he moved him around. So it might be time for Bobby Slowick to change what he does and accept the fact that these guys can't win one-on-one battles. Now, does that make you feel good? No. Do you have a limited ceiling because of that? Yes. Like the Texans' ceiling is much more limited than we anticipated it being. There's no denying that. It's much more limited than we anticipated it being because of how crappy this offensive line is and how bad this offensive line performs. But you still got to maximize what you got to work with. And with the Bobby Slowick thing, with the Bobby Slowick situation, there's a number of things. And I talked about this morning. I actually put the video up. The Bobby Slowick thing is interesting because part of it is, why was this offensive line better last year when they were basically a week-to-week shuffle? And I'm going to ask him this question on Thursday. Like, why? What is there a problem with the way you prepare these guys? Because a lot of times when there's a shuffle, you don't have these guys as much, and they're just going out there and playing. Is it possible that you're just not preparing these guys? And what's going on there? Why was the offensive line better last year? So there's got to be something to it. I think there's a part of the offensive line where they just don't want to admit that they stink and they're not adjusting. I don't think it's one thing or the other. In the life of Colby, I don't think Christian Harris plays this year, Lock Dog. Well, tell me what you know. I mean, if you tell me what you know, because I do. I think he does. And I've kind of been on this for a while, but I mean, tell me what you know. And I would love to hear it. But Slowick is always really transparent and honest with answers. So he'll answer it to the best of his ability. And we'll see what Bobby Slowick does say. But I do think there's a little bit to what DeMeco Ryans said. And I think he basically said that these guys aren't good. Be sure to swarm the like button. Let's hear more from DeMeco Ryans.
Culture here in Houston and the swarm mentality and sense of pride that's been brought back here to Houston. The team that's coming in with Detroit, what have you kind of seen from them in the past few years with their culture and how revitalized Detroit is with their team?
Yeah, seeing Detroit the past couple of years, I think you see the culture, you see the energy that Coach Campbell has brought to that team, right? You see the mindset, the toughness, physicality, right? Their style of play, it shows up on tape, every week. So, and they got really good players as well across the board. They're able to add a lot of good players, a lot of good young players that are exhibiting, right, that mindset and that culture. And it's a really good team coming in here this week, and we're very excited about the matchup.
Do you have an update on Nico Collins and whether he'll be able to play soon?
Yeah, we'll continue to evaluate Nico throughout the week, see where he is.
DeMeco, can you it's a two-part question. So the offensive line has been doing obviously a better job of run blocking. Are you surprised that there's some challenges? I know it's different with pass blocking. Is it something that you think you guys collectively is a fix that you guys can handle? I guess is the question.
For our guys up front, like you said, they've done a good job of blocking. They've had a lot of good pass reps too. I think everybody highlights the bad reps. Of course, that's where the focus goes.
He just can't help himself. Like where are these good reps from the pass blocking? Like, do you want to put together a highlight tape or something? I don't understand why he does this. It doesn't seem beneficial. Like, do these guys need to be coddled? Like, they're among the highest paid at their position at this point. I don't understand.
On the bad reps, we've had really good
One of the worst offensive lines in the
rush
league, coach.
snaps, and
Especially pass
where
block.
are we with the timing, with the
come on,
progression
man.
of the routes and all those? Are we open, in the timing of the play? So all of those things matters when we do have good protection, and all of that is a factor as well.
Coach, you talked about second half adjustments, and on the offensive side of the ball, what are you seeing as far as maybe some of, I don't want to say the play calling and some of the inefficiencies that they're having in the second half as far as scoring?
Yeah, for us, we've done a great job of moving the ball to get across midfield, and I'm very encouraged.
Offensive
with
line
that progress
curve,
of us
man.
moving the football, because we
Let's
can't move it.
Let's just be
We need
completely
to.
honest,
It's just
man. Let's just be completely honest, and let's just be real about it. He's a disaster when he talks offense. He's a disaster when he talks offense. I don't like to admit it. We don't like to admit it. The reservations about, and it's not just about what he says, it's about what we've seen over a long period of time. No adjustments, coddling, justification, celebrating literally nothing. We've gotten to midfield. Like, you just had one of the best players in franchise history, one of the best coaches in the NFL, one of the best overseers of his side of the ball. You just had him celebrate that they're getting to midfield. They're one of the worst second half offenses, if not the worst second half offense in the entire NFL. Their offensive line is far and away one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in the NFL. Their quarterback hit the turf twice last week. And you have DeMeco Ryans going up there and saying there were some good reps, like he's coaching a middle school C team. He doesn't talk like that about his defense. So I think the emergence and at least the acknowledgement of this is a defensive coach and the offense might be in a bad place with the way that things are going right now, I think it's a logical concern. I don't think it's irrational when you hear stuff like this. And again, hear me out on this. I'm at these press conferences. I cover this team more than anybody. You guys know this. I've spent 25, 30, 50% of my time talking in the last decade has been about this squad, what they do, their every move, everything that's said. I know that coaches aren't going to go up there, a lot of them, and tell us everything that's going on. Sometimes it really doesn't matter. But what the Texans have done the last 4 weeks and what DeMeco Ryans has allowed to happen and continue to justify is they've made no changes on the offensive line. I don't even know if Kenyon Green was going to come out of the game last week before he got hurt. They benched him for one series, and then you put someone else back in there. So the reservations about DeMeco Ryans being the defensive-minded head coach and perhaps having a blind spot for the offense, they should be alive and well right now. And it's discouraging. It can change. Maybe CJ Stroud, Nico Collins can get it going and they can overcome it. But right now, what CJ Stroud has to do is the same thing that Andrew Luck had to do. Same thing that Deshaun Watson had to do. He has to overcome a poor offensive line in front of him and an offensive coaching staff that doesn't know how to mask or overcome the ineffectiveness of that unit, and he has to put on heroic efforts. It is a CJ saves all butts offense at this point, and anyone who was concerned about hiring a defensive-minded head coach, those concerns right now are probably intensified. Let's hear more from DeMeco.
We've gotten across midfield. We hadn't been able to, get points. In those red zone opportunities, they come up very slim, in games. And when we are there, of course, we want to capitalize and be better. We haven't been really good in the red zone and on third down, right, where you sustain those drives and score points. So that's been a focus. We understand that, and we understand we have to make some adjustments and put our guys in a better position to score points.
It looked like you guys but put Stingley in a lot of one-on-one situations, and he obviously was able to thrive in the situation. What kind of give you guys the confidence to leave him one-on-one against Devontae, Garrett, Mike Williams, and what kind of allowed him to be able to hold his own against those pretty good receivers?
Yeah, Stingley he's a good player, good young player. He competes. He challenges receivers down the field when the ball is up. He doesn't find himself in a position where he's panicking, right? He's calm at the catch point, allowing him to, kind of go up and defend those passes. And he's confident in himself, and that's what allows you to be a good player. Anybody you want to make plays in this league, you got to be confident, and you have to have that belief in yourself, right, that you can make those plays and you thrive on those one-on-one matchup opportunities, and Stingley has done a good job with those.
Do you have an update on Will Anderson Jr.? How's he on?
Yeah, we're still evaluating Will, see how he progresses throughout the week.
About whether you need to make a move at the trade deadline, and you express confidence in the guys that you have right now. Just given last game, as well as the injuries that you all have sustained, is your opinion the same, or do you think you?
Yeah, my opinion is always the same on that. I mean, with Nick and his staff, we're always looking to make our team as good as we could possibly be, right? Do we have a heightened sense of just making a move just to make it? No, we're always looking to add to our team, add to our depth. That's something we do constantly throughout the year. So there isn't just a mad rush now at the trade deadline for us to change our approach and how we go about managing our roster. Right? Our roster management doesn't change, right? We're always looking to upgrade.
Kenyon going down, just what you make of your options with Kendrick and Jarrett both being utilized at that level?
Yeah, we'll see who steps up at the offensive line position. We'll see who steps up, see how we go out there and get the job done.
Coach, you said that Coach, you've always expressed that it's not easy to win in this league. It's week to week you're playing against other professional football players. Going up against the Jets, coming in, they were 2-6. They had lost their last 5. Is this kind of like a wake-up call maybe for some of your players, or is just something that you all were, saying you got to make sure that you stay focused?
Yeah, for us, I feel like our guys are focused going into the game, and just because the record says one thing, I don't know, everybody falls into the mode of just because a team's record is one thing that you're going to go in and automatically beat a team. That's not how the league works. Right, you have to earn the right to win, and to earn the right to win, you have to work the right way throughout the week, and you have to make plays in the game to win. Right, the Jets are a really good team, top 10 defensive unit.
They're what?
They got playmakers, Aaron Rodgers, Adams, Garrett. It's not like they don't have playmakers on their team, and they were just going to lay down because we showed up. That's never the case. So you go out and you earn the right to win by making the plays you're supposed to make, no matter what the record is. It doesn't matter who you play, what the record says. How well are you playing on game day? All right. Thank you.
All right. There we go. That is DeMeco Ryans. A lot of people not pleased with that with that media availability by DeMeco Ryans. I think that if you had hesitation to completely buy in because he's a defensive coach, I think it's valid right now. So we'll see how it goes. They do have the Detroit Lions coming to town. Texans right now at BetUS. They are a I just bet on a live over. I was hot this weekend, so I just put $300. As we're speaking, I need 242.5 points in this Suns-Sixers game. So if you want to follow along on that, that's what putting 300 during a press conference looks like. 242.5 in Suns-Sixers. Right now we got 128 left in the third. It's 181. So we need to get a little bit of points. We'll see how it goes. But BetUS promo code YouTube 150 if you want to get in the game, get some prop bets going for sure. But yeah, right now the Texans, they are a 4-point underdog against the Lions, which, if I'm being honest, man, the way that Detroit Lions team is playing and the way that this Texans team is struggling to block, and the line's actually gone down to 3. So this might be one of those what do they know type of games. The line is now down to 3 for the Lions. So maybe it's just right place, right time, much like the Jets. Maybe it kind of cancels out. I think it kind of someone says I'm going to have to call the number. Nah, I went up 400 this weekend. So 242.5 is good. BetUS promo code YouTube 150 if you want to get in. It's a little bit of a heat check. And quite frankly, when you're getting 150 back, there you go. So we'll see what it is. But yeah, anybody can beat anybody in the NFL. We'll see how it goes. And that might have been a high grade bet. You might be right. That's
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
Now I do.
Will it be good or not? We will see what that looks like. Someone says they're calling it. They win against the Lions and lose against the Cowboys. LOL. We'll see. Let's hear from a member of this offensive line. This quote got a lot of attention. Here was Tytus Howard. He met with the media. Right tackle Tytus Howard. Here's what he had to say about the Texans offensive line. This is from Chancellor Johnson, KPRC2, the great Chancellor.
I take it to heart, man. I mean, it's always like, whether we winning or losing, as an O-lineman, when you got a quarterback like CJ, we got to be at our best at all times. And so, we see everybody talk. We just got to be better because, at the end of the day, we do our job. They won't be talking about us no more. So, that's the crazy thing about the O-line. You just do your job. You do your job. They don't talk about you. You don't do your job, you're going to hear it. So we got to just step up to the challenge and go out there and do our job. Everybody got a reason to say something right now. We just got to put out, listen to it, on what we got to do as individuals first and see what we can do as a group to fix it. I take it to heart, man. It's always like, whenever we win.
We'll stop talking if we start playing good. I actually don't dislike that quote from Tytus Howard. I just the confidence level on whether or not they're going to play good. I think that's it's tough. Not a lot of people really buying what the Texans are selling, but that was Tytus Howard. I thought it was a good quote from Tytus. So we'll see how that goes. Brandon F says, "What do you want DeMeco to say?" I don't want him to really. I don't care what he says. It's about what they do, and what they've done and what they've said has been proportional. There's been a lot of coddling the last 5-6 weeks of the offensive line, and the offensive line has gone out there. They haven't changed anything. So what do I want him to say? I don't want him to go flip a table or anything like that. I respect what his mannerisms are. It's just when the offensive line is a consistent problem and you consistently don't make changes and it doesn't match the quality of positioning, regardless of personnel from one side of the ball to the other. I think that's a problem. I think the good teams, they're proportionally disciplined and they're proportionally put in position to win. Some teams have strengths. Most teams have strengths. Most teams have weaknesses. But a lot of times that's personnel. That's personnel based. I don't expect this to be a really, really good offensive line, but I would like for them to ideally be put in the right spot based on the card that's being dealt. And this, cross your fingers and hope that the Texans offensive line is going to be able to physically dominate the man in front of them is not realistic. It's not realistic at all. So either it's somebody new on the offensive line this year compared to last, or there's just a little bit too much going on. And the other thing that's happened with Bobby Slowick, and the other thing that's happened with this team is, for some reason, you keep hearing about looks. Like the other team gave us this look. We didn't anticipate it. Okay. Are y'all misevaluating them? Do they know what the hell you're doing? Like, what's going on? So that's the thing that I think is wild about this offensive line. That's all the bad news, man. Like, the Texans right now, they're in a position where they have certain goals. Those goals are in doubt if they're not able to fix their problems. But the good news is, and this is the recap edition, we do this after Monday Night Football every Monday, 10:30 Central is the locker room. SNL in the mornings. You can get SNL with Landry Locker, Cody Stutes. Just type in Landry Locker, Cody Stutes, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe. You can listen to the audio version, or you can watch it out right here on YouTube. But that's the bad news when it comes to reaching the ultimate goal. The good news is the AFC South is an enabler to the Texans. There's no threat there. They're in the rear view. The Jags don't want to be in this thing, and the Colts don't want to be in this thing. So for all these problems, you're looking up and you're frustrated. The division right now is in firm control. It's in firm grasp. And beating Detroit, quite frankly, as a measuring stick, much like last year, Week 10 against the Bengals, who lost the conference championship the previous year, and you won that game, and that's where you really believe that the Texans could win the division. They were looking up at Jacksonville. They ended up catching them. This year, you have a team that lost in the conference championship last year in Detroit. You got them on Sunday night. It's also Week 10. It's a higher scale. It's a bigger weight class, but it's the same type of opportunity. Good news is, if the Colts sneak that game from the Vikings yesterday, we're sitting here saying, okay, well, damn, you're facing one of the best teams in the league. You lose this game. You're a Colts upset of the Bills from being tied with them in the standings. Nope, because they stink. And so does the rest of the AFC South. So that is the good news. Bad news, the rich appear to be getting richer. Baltimore's offense right now is insane. It is absolutely insane. They got Deontay Johnson. They got Zay Flowers. Derrick Henry's playing at a Pro Bowl caliber. Lamar Jackson looks good, and they're a battle-tested team. So they look great. Kansas City, they just traded for Nuke Hopkins. We know him pretty well around here. 2 touchdowns tonight. It appears that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a solid piece for Kansas City. And I see people bitching in the online about trades. And the Texans, are they going to make a trade? Are they going to trade for a wide receiver? Are they going to trade for an offensive lineman? Who knows? I mean, I'm sure they're open to it, but they did trade for Stefon Diggs. I mean, it didn't work out. He got hurt. But it's not like the Texans neglected the wide receiver position and they've been desperate for weapons. They lost one of the best statistical receivers in the NFL in Nico Collins, and other teams didn't do anything in the offseason, then they decided to do it now. So they did make a move on offense. Now, I do think there's a problem at wide receiver from 3 down. I think they got issues. I think you feel good about Nico and you feel good about Tank, assuming that Nico can stay healthy. But there's a reason that they made the trade for Stefon Diggs. And that's the troubling thing. They aggressively tried to get a wide receiver in the offseason. They tried to trade for Keenan Allen, and they ended up trading for Stefon Diggs. So they told you that they don't have a lot of faith in this wide receiver core. And that was still when they had Noah Brown. So now the emerging concern is at wide receiver. Can you trade your way out of that, especially when you already traded for a guy? I don't know. They probably just have to figure something out, and they just have to hope that Nico Collins gets stuff going, and maybe Bobby Slowick adjusts, and maybe they make some changes to where this offensive line plays better. But it's not. It's a logical concern to think that this wide receiver room is not good enough because they told you that this offseason, and we've seen it with our own eyes. Like anytime you've gone into a game, and this can be blamed on the offensive line. I get it. I 100% get it. Like you can blame this on the offensive line. But even last year when the offensive line wasn't as much of a problem, any game you've gone into where it's not icing on the cake and it's the actual batter and it's the actual foundation and you need Xavier Hutchinson or you need John Mechie to step up, they haven't. They haven't done it. And there's a reason that they made that trade. So wide receiver, I absolutely understand any concern about that. Why the hell would you cut Robert Woods? What is that? Like he save money. What? He's on a 1-year deal. What cut Robert Woods for what? What money? He's already signed. Hunter, come on, man. Appreciate you for coming through, but that makes no sense. Maybe if you were saying if they would have done that before the season, they might be even worse off. But yeah, I don't have any reason for cutting Robert Woods. That makes no sense at this point. The honeymoon is over. He knows that, and DeMeco's glad the honeymoon's over. That means expectations are ready, or increased. I would say. So here is a little bit of news before we get out of here about the Texans. Jerry Hughes and Jeff Okudah, they've been designated to return. I've been telling you, it seems like Okudah is pretty close. I actually think Christian Harris is close-ish. I would still say probably closer to December 1st than November 1st, but it's close-ish. I think we start seeing a little bit of intensifying in the process with Christian Harris. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be. I mean, don't count on him. And even when they activate him, I don't think that means he plays the very next week. But keep an eye on Christian Harris the next few weeks. I think he's getting closer to trying to get back on the field, but I don't think they're in a hurry. So I would say closer to December 1st than November 1st. If you want to look at the Christian Harris possibility, I would, if I had to guess, like if I were on Price is Right, and again, you can do with this what you want. If I had to guess, like personally, when I think we see Christian Harris, just me, I'm there every day. But can't predict injuries. I would predict after the bye week. I would say that after the bye week would be Christian Harris. So I would say December, but definitely closer to December 1st than November 1st, I would think. Never know. But that would be my personal guess. I don't know where Jerry Hughes fits into anything when it comes to this whole thing. T on the super chat again, swarming it. Appreciate you, brother.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Why do people think teams are going to give up premium guards for nothing at the deadline? I don't know. The other thing that confuses me about this, and I don't know if y'all believe it, if y'all subscribe to this or not, but I think everyone kind of has like a weak spot. Even if they're really good at their job, there's a weakness. Like everyone has like some sort of weakness. Like I keep using like boxing and UFC analogies. Like some guys are really, really awesome and they're like heavyweight champs, but they're not good on the ground. Like they suck at ground and pound. Barry Sanders was a crappy receiver. Some of the best corners in NFL history have been crappy tacklers. There have been some guys. Shaq was a bad free throw shooter. I mean, the sports analogies could go on and on. I'm sure you guys have some. You guys and girls have some as well. But there's a lot of like all-time greats that have extreme weaknesses in their sports, despite being incredibly awesome. Jose Altuve is an awful base runner. He sucks at base running. Even though he's fast, he sucks at base running. I think Nick Caserio is ass at evaluating offensive linemen. And I don't know how that can even be disputed. Like every way that you can evaluate an offensive lineman, like if you subscribe to the theory that this offensive line is not good, and you wonder if guys outside of Tunsil, who by the way leads the league in penalties, if you subscribe to the theory that these other four guys just look completely lost, the coaching staff is handcuffed, and they need to upgrade, that's on Caserio. If it's just the personnel, that's on Caserio. He saw Tytus Howard play. I didn't understand. They thought enough. They thought so much of Tytus Howard at right tackle, they moved him to guard so they could play George Fant. And George Fant was better. Let's just be honest. George Fant played better last year than Tytus Howard is playing this year. and they moved him to guard. And then what did they do? They decided, well, we're going to make this guy one of the 5 highest paid right tackles in the league. If you thought he was a top 5 right tackle, you're not moving him to guard. I'm sorry, that's not happening. And we're kind of seeing right now, there's a lot of similarities between how he plays tackle and how he played guard. It's not great. You gave him that extension. You brought in Shaq Mason, and you gave Shaq Mason an extension. You drafted Juice Scruggs in the 2nd round. You drafted Kenyon Green in the 1st round. So I don't necessarily trust Nick Caserio to make a trade for an offensive lineman. That can change, but why the hell would I trust him to do that? Matter of fact, I trust him a hell of a lot more to get a wide receiver. Like, look at what Nick Caserio has done at wide receiver. Just put the Mechie thing aside. Put the Mechie thing aside. He drafted Nico Collins on day 2 when he didn't have a 1st-round pick. He drafted Tank Dell in the 3rd round, and he made the trade for Stefon Diggs. I trust him a hell of a lot more to trade for a wide receiver. But I don't trust Nick Caserio to trade for an offensive lineman. Why the hell would I? What would that be based on? I mean, it's not even like we're talking about one thing. Every layer of evaluation, every way in which you evaluate players and you make decisions, Nick Caserio has sucked. Extensions, draft equity, free agent signings, he's sucked. Does that mean it's permanent? Does that mean it's going to be forever? No, it doesn't. But why would I trust Nick Caserio to look at an offensive line and bring in an offensive lineman? What would that be based on? Hope? He's done nothing. He's done nothing to earn the trust that he can evaluate offensive linemen. Zilch, nothing, nada. So how the hell am I supposed to think Nick Caserio is going to sit there, evaluate this offensive line, and make a trade that's somehow going to make stuff right? I don't. It is the locker room #1 source for Texans digital content. Kevin on the Super. I actually miss Fant and Dieter now. Yeah, and that's the other thing about it. I don't understand why these guys that were shuffling and that were journeymen, I don't understand why these guys are better than the guys that they have at the top 5. Is it poor evaluation? Is it the fact that they don't have to listen to it? Like, what is going on there? Why is that? But yeah, I was having this conversation today, and I said, if you even had to give this contract, let's say that you guaranteed, and I know George Fant is hurt, but if George Fant were healthy, and you told me that a healthy George Fant, I could trade Tytus Howard right now for George Fant, but the salary cap situation wouldn't be factored in and it wouldn't improve any, would I do it? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Is that dramatic? I don't think so. But I absolutely would. Because it couldn't be worse. As a matter of fact, I would take Blake Fisher right now just to see what he can do. I mean, if he's going to struggle, what's the difference? At least he's getting some valuable experience. I would take that right now. They got to change something. Does that change mean that they're gonna be good? No. But they got to change something. Didn't Nick Caserio put together the Patriots Super Bowl O-lines? Come on, dude. No, he didn't. He was not the one. He was not even the general manager. That was Belichick. And Tom Brady's the best offensive line coach that you can have. And they have one of the best Patriots. They have one of the best offensive line coaches of all time. Come on, man. You're going to give him credit for that? I think it's apparent. Like, are you going to blame him for the way that they handled drafting receivers in the draft? No, he wasn't the shot caller there. He didn't put together the Patriots Super Bowl lines. Come on, man. Let's be serious. Graffetta 00713 upset. I don't know where or when us as fans went left on this team. I still believe in Nick and Ryan. Sorry, but I'm going to hold tight. I believe in Nick and DeMeco too. I don't think anyone in here, I think you're being dramatic. This is dramatic. This is like Jason Kelsey apologizing for this weekend. This is dramatic. I don't think anyone doesn't believe in Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans, but if you believe in Nick Caserio to draft offensive linemen, you're blindly loyal. People, I wouldn't trade a coach for DeMeco Ryans. He's still young to the game. Nick Caserio has done an excellent job of overseeing this thing. He sucks as an offensive line evaluator. I mean, he can't. You think Nick Caserio can say with a straight face, I've done a good job of evaluating offensive linemen right now? No, absolutely not. But I don't see people saying fire DeMeco Ryans and fire Nick Caserio. But expectations are higher. It's okay for expectations to be higher. That was the goal. Get to the next step. There's no threat in the division. So I think that's a little bit dramatic. You're still going to hold tight. Hold tight. What are you holding? Like, what exactly? I'm going to hold tight. What are you holding tight? Like, I think the people that are complaining are holding tight. What are you holding when it comes to the Texans?
These nuts.
Keep holding them, man. I think you're being a little bit dramatic. So Landry, you think you can do better? This is a dumb comment too. What do you mean I think I can do better? At what? Like, what is that? You think you can do better than me? I mean, I don't like, are we just going to do a snowball effect? Do I think I can go be a general manager? No, I don't. But I mean, no. Do you think you can do better? I don't. What does that mean? You think you can do better? Why don't you go coach the team? Front runner is a why don't you go coach the team guy. No, but I think the fan base knows ball. I think the fan base has questioned the offensive line and they've justified it. Sometimes the fans look smart. Sometimes it plays out that way. Sometimes the media looks smart. Why don't you coach the team? Gotcha, front runner. Would I fire Bobby Slowick? I would not. I think Bobby Slowick will be. I think Bobby Slowick is having a rough time. I think Bobby Slowick is probably handcuffed by personnel. Would I fire Bobby Slowick? No. I wouldn't. I would not. Front runner says, "Stop crying about it." What are you talking about? This is the Texans page. You can go in timeout, brother. Go put your nose in the corner. Quit crying about it. What do you want me to say? The offensive line is good. What kind of weirdo are you? I hope you're a bot. Can't be a real person. Goodness gracious! It is a locker room #1 source for Texans digital content. We'll see what happens. Trade deadline is tomorrow. We'll keep an eye on this. I don't know that they've really adjusted the cap too much, but that'll be something to keep an eye on. Someone says they would fire the whole offensive line. Can't do that. I do wonder about the O-line coach, though. How good of a job is he doing? How much do people respect him? Do I think I could coach the offensive line and do better? Probably not. Front runner. That's always one of my favorite things. Why don't you coach the team then? Like I could have better. Nah. Fire Bobby, man. Jerome wants to fire Bobby. Play caller for the Bucs had them moving the ball. Yeah, and they're out receivers. The offense has been bad. The O-line is bad. They both can be bad. I don't know that I would fire anyone or anything like that. Interview. Is that all we want is the division? Nah, I think you probably want to win a playoff game. Maybe make a little bit of noise. And the good news about all this is I think they have, I think CJ is great enough. I think Nico is great enough. And I think the defense is good enough. And DeMeco Ryans is good enough to overcome efficiencies. But you've got to maximize the opportunity. You can't just keep putting these guys on islands. But I don't think this team is like some sort of lost cause. As long as you have number 7 back there, you have a chance. So I think I don't completely think that this season is a lost cause at all. That's what's frustrating. You know this team's pretty good. They're not terrible. Now, are they elite right now? No. They got major question marks. Rocky with the super sticker. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you very much. But I wouldn't give up completely on this team. I think this team will be all right. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't think I would give up on them. I know they're looking at guards. I saw Aaron Wilson said they signed a guard, and then we didn't make much of it this morning, and it was like some project. And then I heard that guy wasn't signed, so I can't keep up with that whole thing. Do you? The super sticker for the voice. Do you think you can coach the O-line? You think you can coach the O-line? You think you can do a better job coaching the O-line? Quit complaining about it. Is there any so I'm just going to go on a rant. It's the Monday thing. Is there any bigger losers? And front runner, I appreciate you for coming through. But front runner is the kind of guy so You just came off of a game where you lost on Monday night. The offensive line is as bad as it's been. People are passionate about football. People enjoy football. People want to see stuff. And the dude goes in a YouTube community dedicated to a football team and says, quit whining about it. You know what? You know what Front Runner is doing tomorrow morning? Because I got his itinerary right here. This is what Front Runner is doing. A guy who goes in a football chat, and I'm not calling you. You don't use your real name, so I'm not calling you by a real name. So don't take it too personal, my friend. This is all just hindsight. But he's probably going to a fast food restaurant and telling people that they're eating unhealthy. That's probably what my man is doing. T on the super in saying that if Mixon played all season, he's probably up there with King Henry right now. Yeah, I don't think anyone can dispute the job that Joe Mixon's done. Now Saquon's good, and Saquon was plan A. Mixon ended up being plan B. Mixon wasn't even on the market though when they were trying to get Saquon. If you remember correctly, Zach Moss got signed by the Bengals, and then it was basically common knowledge that they were going to release Mixon, and then the Texans made the trade for Mixon so that they could keep him off of the market. So that was pretty much how they did that. But yeah, between Mixon, Henry, Saquon, the running back market, it was gassed up and it was good value because people were kind of devaluing the running back position. The Texans actually did a pretty good job, did a really good job of evaluating the offensive line for sure. So I think are evaluating the running back position is what I would say. So we'll see. We'll see what happens as the season goes on. But I think you have to be pleased that you ended up with Joe Mixon. And quite frankly, if Joe Mixon had been in the market with Saquon, I think the makeup and the way in which Joe Mixon runs, I think there's a possibility they just would have gone all in on Mixon from the jump instead of Saquon. I mean, you couldn't do wrong either way. Saquon's having a hell of a year too. And that was kind of one of the debates. But props to the Texans, like for all this complaining about the offensive line and the defense and all that type of stuff and all these guys, these running back guys, like they at least went and dipped into the top end of that running back market. Now they probably should have addressed depth a little bit more so that they would have multiple guys. But as far as getting in that market, which was a bargain at the time, I thought they did a really good job of handling that and pivoting once Saquon was off the market to Joe Mixon. I don't think I'm breaking any news there at all. Stoots free agent stream was popping off when we didn't sign Saquon. LOL. Yeah, Stoots was rolling deep on that stream. We'll be doing something together this week, and we're on SNL, myself and Cody Stoots. Type in Landry Locker, Cody Stoots. Go wherever you get your podcast. You can get the audio version. We do the simulcast collaboration Monday through Friday as well, and whenever news breaks. Texans make a trade tomorrow. We'll probably hop on live, and we will react to that. So we'll see how that goes. Couple things about the movement today with the Texans. I want to touch on the Nico Collins thing because good question from one of the viewers today about Nico Collins. They asked, why did the Texans designate Jerry Hughes and Jeff Okudah for return, but they didn't announce it for Nico Collins? Should we think anything of that? My answer would be no. We know that DeMeco Ryans likes to keep it kind of close to the vest. And like when it comes to defense, like injuries and stuff, he kind of keeps it close to the vest. And he kind of has that hardo coaching nature to him. The reason that I think they have no problem putting Jerry Hughes and Okudah, the news out there, is because I don't know that those guys play this week. And quite frankly, if they are, I don't know that it really matters. I don't know how much of an impact Okudah is going to make. I don't even know where Jerry Hughes fits in this D-line. But Nico Collins is one of the most productive receivers in the NFL. He's really big part of this offense. And I think if/when they activate Nico Collins, they'll just wait till Wednesday to do that. And I think there's a really, really good chance that happens. But that's what I think they're doing there. Why would you, if you don't have to, why would you announce that Nico Collins is going to be back on a Monday to where it gives the Lions 2 extra days to prepare for Nico Collins, as opposed to waiting till Wednesday, and Wednesday morning we get the news that Nico Collins is practicing. So that would be my guess. You never know. But if, like, let's pretend that Nico was good to go, I think that would be why the Texans would do that, because DeMeco's really into, like, not giving advantages, and they don't have to announce it till Wednesday. There's no practice tomorrow, and Wednesday would be when it happens. So that would be what I would say to that theory, which is a really solid theory. Jose on the chat says, issue is Lions. They can definitely convert on a 4th down. Yeah, you have to play 4 downs against the Lions, and it is not fun. The other problem with the Lions is I think that the intermediate passes, Texans seem kind of vulnerable to it, and the Lions have an offensive coordinator that, unlike Bobby Slowick, he is not struggling at all, and they have an offensive line that, unlike the Texans' offensive line, is not struggling at all. But between the running backs coming out of the backfield and catching, the tight end, Amon-Ra St. Brown, there is a lot of danger in the intermediate side. And the Texans' offense, I don't think they want to get in a shootout with the Detroit Lions, but they're definitely going to have to figure some stuff out. We are loudly becoming a joke at 6-3. Sneakers most wanted. I wouldn't agree with that. I don't think they're a joke. I think the offensive line is bad. I wouldn't call the Texans a joke. I think that would be a little bit much. Do you think the offense adjusts to a quick game similar to last year? Probably not. I would say probably not. That would be my guess. Wouldn't really 8 sacks in pass pro, but some great reps. Yeah, that wasn't one of DeMeco's best lines at all. Our defense is why I never completely count us out, but we do have a score TD against these explosive teams. 100%. I think the defense, specifically the D-line, is so good that they're going to keep you in games. So I agree with you. At some point, though, you're going to have to protect the quarterback, especially if the goal is not just to win the division, but to compete near the top and kind of take that step and creep up there. But again, with all this crap and all this stuff, let's just be serious. It's not a lost cause. It's not a lost season. You still have elite talent at some of the most important places, and who knows what happens. It'll be interesting to see how they handle this Detroit game. Right now, the spread is 3, so something's going on there. They don't think the Texans are going to get smacked around. So let's keep an eye on that. A lot of times whenever the home team's getting 3, it's kind of a little bit fishy, and they're trying to make you bet on the other squad. We saw that with Texas A&M and South Carolina this week, where I think most of the money was on A&M because they were red hot. South Carolina kind of up and down, and South Carolina kind of smacks them around. That's just kind of the nature of it. I'm kind of leaning towards where I may be betting on the Texans. I'll do so at BetUS. Use the promo code YouTube150. Shout out to them for sponsoring the video. Shout out to everyone for joining in. Front runner as well. I will not be coaching anytime soon, but I appreciate y'all for coming through. SNL tomorrow. Off day for the Texans. Practice on Wednesday. I'll be on the scene, and no matter what happens when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. That's the Week 10 breakdown. AFC South enabling to the Texans' flaws, and all is well around here. Have a good night, peeps.
You know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.